This week on the Virtual Skeptic. Bob tests everyone's patience, as usual. He burns a book, not as usual. Tim is mysteriously missing again. Waiting for the pause. I'm your host, Brian Gregory. Just waiting for it. The theme of the show tonight is machines you want to kill. And I'm just throwing it out there because I feel like saying it.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Thanks for watching. Yeah. Hi, everybody.
What's up?
I'm really sad about Tim not being here.
I know.
It was a surprise absence.
I'm pretty sure that he's being held hostage by someone.
Yeah.
Yeah? Who do you think it would be?
I think we're not allowed to say.
The lanyard guys?
No, he's been good to them. He's been good to them. Who's Lanyard's competition?
Well, he hasn't really promoted Lanyard in a while, so it could be.
They could have him tied up with lanyards.
That seems unlikely since it's actually an online thing and the lanyard really isn't a thing. So.
Well, it would be metaphoric torture.
Okay. Yeah.
We need a laugh track because that's the only way we're going to find out when the jokes happen on this show.
It's true.
You need a little sign that says joke.
A joke.
Okay, so this is Virtual Skeptics, and I'm going to go ahead because you know these people, but I'm going to tell you who they are anyway. This is Bob Blaskowitz, the guy with the great sense of humor. CSI's conspiracy guy, web columnist, blogger for Skeptical Humanities, and Skeptic Alley contributor, and Eve Siebert, who is actually the funniest person on the show, editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities, and contributor to Skepticality Insight at skeptic.com, and just me. Hi.
And Brian.
And I feel like there's a weight, there's like an empty hole in my show because there's no Tim.
There's no Tim.
What?
Because nobody will now nobody will understand the computer stuff you say.
That's true.
That's true. He's my one kindred soul when I go engineering, full-on engineering.
Yeah, I don't know where you end and he begins, honestly.
That's
true. Just, you guys are tender like lovers. It's amazing, the chemistry you guys have.
I think you've taken it way too far.
You went to a weird place there, Bob.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So if you're watching and you want to participate, you can in several ways. You can tweet with hashtag #VirtualSkeptic. You can ask us a question on the Q&A app on Google+. And you can comment on the YouTube comment thread thing jigger, and we will pay attention when we can and work your hilarity and questions into the show. Also, we have a weekly trivia question, which Tim has left for us. He still makes me sad he's not here. But at least we have remnants of him to remind us.
We'll always have trivia.
Okay. This is the question about to be tweeted. And here we go. What famous quack cancer cure is also known as B17 and is made from apricot pills?
Pits.
Pits. Yeah.
Pits? Oh,
Yeah.
apricot pits. Not pills, because then the pills would... Okay, it's pills made from pits.
Mm-hmm.
Pills from Pits. Pills from Pits is my 80s ska band. I don't know. Pills from Pits? Yeah? English?
I don't know. It has a Tears for Fearsiness to it.
Yeah, it does.
But druggier.
Druggier, definitely.
Yeah.
Also, if you're paying attention to the videos behind me, if you can tell me what they are, I will give you a great big pat on the back. So,
maybe like a burnt-out Belinda Carlisle? I don't know. Okay, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you've kind of locked me up there.
Yep.
Okay, so first up this week, Bob has got something that
Quite
we're going to
goaty.
go through.
All right, so this week I have been in...
Do I need yakety sax? No yakety sax?
No yakety sax. If it makes you feel better. But yeah, so this week I've been in despair over the colossal goat rodeo that is the U.S. presidential election. And
I knew Trump was going to be in there somewhere.
And what makes the recent turn of events more disturbing is that I generally like goats. And so to take my mind off the complete disaster that this country's headed for, I bring to you a quiz about goats.
Dun dun dun. I don't have that. I don't have the.
Is the answer to all the questions?
A goat.
Hey!
No.
Hey! I wish I had.
It's not.
You should have told me before you're going to do this so I could have sound effects ready to go, like screaming goats, which would have been awesome.
Oh, that would have been funny, but too bad. This is not that type of show. Okay, so let's get to the first one. If you could bring up the first image.
Aww.
Oh, he's so cute.
Could you bring him up to the big? Is he on the main screen?
He's big screened. He's embiggened.
Okay, so
He's little, but he's embiggened.
he's little, but he's big. He's got a big head. But so
Big
goats like this
cousin.
baby are born with a condition called myotonia congenita.
Oh yeah.
Also,
I know.
what does
I know
that
too.
give them? Okay, so yes,
Fainting goats.
Fainting goats.
Eve picks up an early win. Fainting goats. If you can bring up the
Hey,
next
I didn't
image.
know we were being quizzed.
Except
Oh,
Yeah,
they,
it's a
don't,
quiz.
they don't really faint.
Okay, I know. But
All right.
let's go to the next
I know.
image because we need the next image.
Okay, this one is cool. It's
All
like
right, so
going-
these are
rolling around on the ground.
well, no, they're freezing midair.
Yeah.
Myotonia congenita disables a goat for up to 10 seconds. Whenever it's startled or excited, nobody knows what purpose this trait would serve in the wild. The most likely explanation is that it disables predators who fall over laughing when they see the goat get rigid. So yes, it's a kind of Darwinian pratfall. Yep, so
Amazing.
goats.
Goats. Yay. This guy's not a goat.
This guy, but he's got a goatee. So what do you call that? What do you call that type of beard?
You just said.
No, it's not.
Except it's going to be wrong.
That's wrong.
Dirty face.
No, Eve,
No.
you should know this.
Fu Manchu.
This is your type of trivia. You should do this.
Beard trivia?
Yeah, it's a Van Dyke. But anyway,
Is that a Van Dyke?
Is that where you're going?
It just
Really?
doesn't. It doesn't look pointy enough to be a Van Dyke.
it's
Okay.
getting there. So in the early 20th century, fake surgeon. Well, actually, he did cut people.
And he
John
also-
Brinkley.
He also
Brinkley.
has a hair cap, which is always
Are you
bizarre.
going to talk about
does.
goat ball?
John Brinkley killed or maimed an untold number of patients by performing which surgery on his patients?
Was
Did I
it
just
was
answer
he a
that one?
barber surgeon and it was just shaving them?
No.
No,
All right.
nothing so harmless.
He did something like implanting goat balls or something.
Yes,
Didn't he?
the answer,
Yes. It was
is-
something really hideous like that.
goat gland transplants.
Yes.
John
Yeah.
Brinkley favored putting the testicles. If you could bring up the next image.
Oh,
This
dear.
is the man at work.
Okay.
You're not showing us goat testicles.
No, I'm not. So John Brinkley favored putting the testicles of Toggenburg goats into his patients because their balls, according to an admirer at least, quote, carried none of that persistent odor which is peculiar to male goats the world over, and which, if shed abroad by a human being, would make his neighborhood unpleasant. So, that's John Brinkley and his wife.
So why did he implant the goat balls?
Well, the idea was that you would the origin story that he gave, but who knows if it was true. He said that there was a farmer who came in. I think he was in Milford, Kansas. A local farmer came by and said, I just can't get it anymore. And I when I was younger, I was like a billy goat, and then they both went. And
Billy
decided,
goat.
Wow.
you know what? Let's cut one's nuts off and put it inside you.
And I'm glad he used the one. At least, I mean, when he decided to do this, he chose goats that weren't that smelly. So.
Right. Well, there was some trial and error involved. So.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
lot of
he was killed by a gang of angry billy goats.
That were going or whatever they do. All right.
Hey!
So
You cut
Hey,
off
maybe
a
that's why they
ball.
scream like humans, because their balls have been cut off.
So like castrati. So, if you could bring this next one up,
So it's a theme.
what? Yes, if you what book is this former goat rodeo clown reading?
The pet goat.
What is it?
The pet goat or something like
Pet
that.
goat or no, the goat book?
Oh, Eve, you're good. You're good because
What did it?
there is a.
Where have my goat balls gone?
Oh Lord. Michael Moore gave the wrong name.
Did he
said
say
it
it's
was
my pet
my
goat?
pet goat,
Right.
but it's not. It's the pet goat.
So it's not Bear on a Bike, which would be.
Which is by Siegfried Engelmann and Elaine C. Brunner. This is on the morning of 9/11. In this book, a little girl has a goat, but her parents want to get rid of it. But then the goat stops a car thief and becomes a hero.
What?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it headbutts a car thief or something. I don't know. Maybe it's a carjacking. That would be cool, but I don't know what he would be doing reading a story about carjackings to kids. So, yeah.
This whole segment is making me feel really good about the current presidential race. I'm just saying.
I'm glad. So,
isn't that what you intended?
Yeah, sure. What you know?
No,
What?
just to distract from it.
I am a firm adherent in reader response theory. So whatever the meaning you give it is, that's the right meaning. All right. So in 1995, if you could bring up the next image, yes. In 1995,
this was the book cover.
It is. Bring up the next image.
Oh, you didn't tell me to put that one up. Oh, look at that.
In 1995, there was an unprecedented mortality of newborn goats around the country, centered largely in West Texas. What was the cause?
I'm going to say it wasn't chupacabras.
It was not chupacabras.
Aliens?
Was not aliens.
Some sort of goat disease?
Some sort of goat disease is closer.
Was it crazy artists? I don't know.
No. Okay, so if you could bring up the next image, the name of the disease that was killing these kids was known as floppy kid disease.
Floppy?
Floppy kid disease. It was thought to be caused by two things. One, overfeeding kids with milk, and an unknown pathogen in the milk. Part of the problem is that goat owners had a hard.
Them raw milk?
Exactly. I would like to see floppy kid disease be the name given to any milk-borne disease contracted by the child of raw milk advocates. Personally, but it turns when they did the autopsies, they found that there was milk in both of their stomachs. They were filled to bursting with milk, so that had something to do with it, but also they think that there was a pathogen involved. So, yeah.
So were they excessively bottle fed or something?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. That's a possibility, though. Goat owners had a hard time believing that these weakened, sickly goats didn't need to be fed anymore, and that contributed to the problem. So it
they had
also known
problem.
They did have a drinking problem. So, let's bring up the next image. On April 1st, 2014, Coffee Stain Studios released which goat-themed video game?
Goat Simulator.
Is correct. Goat Simulator
ding, ding. I played it.
Is the most realistic goat simulation game to date to be modeled after the gameplay of a Tony Hawk game. Yeah.
It's actually
if you could bring up the next image, just kind of show you a little bit what it looks like. That's a goat swinging an axe at people for no reason.
Well,
with its tongue.
You don't know it doesn't have a reason.
The guy was a jerk. So
probably. Okay, so
screaming, hey, hey, hey. The people were ignoring it.
I know.
Hey! It's an axe.
Hi, I've got an axe. Hi.
All right, so if you
Well,
bring up the next one,
okay.
and final question. In
Aww.
Who's this
early
guy?
2012, in early 2012, the BBC reported that researchers in Utah had combined the genes of a goat with the genes of what other animal? And this is actually one of the one of the goats named Freckles.
I know this one.
Do you?
Yes. They combined the genes of a goat with was it like
Was it something to make them
silkworms? Was it
glow in the dark?
silkworms?
Mm.
Oh, you're so close.
It's like it was something like that. Some kind of
Yes,
insect.
yes, it was. So
I don't
what
remember the
they
whole thing,
I,
but
I know, but
yeah.
what would be more useful than silk, or at least silkworm silk?
Spider.
Spider. So what they did is that among the genes that code for goat milk, you can bring the next image up.
My God.
Among the genes that
Spider
While he was
goat.
speaking.
Spider goat.
he does. I don't know. So they took out the gene that codes for the protein in spider silk, and they put it in with the genes that create milk in the goat udders, and the resulting milk had that one extra protein,
Damn.
which has been very hard to synthesize, and it can be extracted in the lab. But otherwise, the milk is completely the same, and it has all
Yeah.
sorts of potential uses, like being stronger than Kevlar and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
I heard about this, and it was really bizarre. And one of the stories is like science, and everybody else is like, well, what the fuck did they do?
right, well, it was all they did was
Yeah, it's like mad science, but gone good. But that's
well, the goats are completely normal. They just manufacture
Yeah.
one extra protein. There's nothing intrinsically spidery about this
Sure,
protein.
they eat the occasional fly.
Well, one of the things that they were saying in
And
the
shut
Shouldn't
Shuttle
put
into
them through
corners.
teleporters, that's for sure.
That's right. No, but one of the things that they mentioned
Because they'll turn into Jeff Goldblum.
that you can't farm spiders because they're cannibals. Just in case you care.
So they eat
Are
each other.
all
Okay.
spiders cannibals?
I don't know. That's what the guy
Are
said.
they actual cannibal Shia LaBeoufs?
Plus, the other problem with farming spiders is you have to build the little stalls
The
for
little stalls,
spiders are really complicated.
Oh, you got to brand them with a little needle, you know? Lasso them. Woo!
And the milking. Ugh.
Oh,
Yes,
God.
the milking. Oh my God. Yes.
So,
Oh,
yep.
the milking.
Did you make that picture yourself, Bob?
No, I did not make that picture myself. That was out on the internet, thank you.
Goat
Where
spider.
everything
Somebody had
is.
already done a spider goat. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I discovered this week, pretty much any idea you come up with, there's an image for it online.
Oh,
already.
absolutely. And if it's not an image of the thing, it's something that suggests it and is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the other day, I was discussing something with my girlfriend, and she came up with this idea called Lou Ferengi.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lou Ferrigno and a Ferengi. And we did a Google search, and the image already existed, which
Of course it did.
It pretty much proves to me that every stinking image exists already. So there you go.
Well, okay, Sylvester Ferengi.
Um,
Instead of Sylvester
maybe.
Stallone.
I'm Googling that now.
Yeah.
Right
doesn't
after
exist.
I talk about spider goat robots that kill.
Burn. Sick burn.
Yes. Thanks, Bob. That was very entertaining.
It was goatee. So let's look at the scores. I forgot to take score,
I think
so I win.
the home
I think
viewer won, really, because
That's true.
they got to see that awesome quiz. Plus cute goat pictures, except for the horrible one.
Plus spider goat milk.
Okay. I can.
Spider goat.
There are no rules, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Alex Murdoch put it on Twitter. Never heard of floppy kid disease, but I have heard of floppy baby syndrome or hypnotonia.
Hypotonia.
Sadly, no punchline. Hypotonia?
Hypotonia.
Yeah, no,
sadly.
that's a thing that you can have.
So that's not a joke. That's
a real thing, and it's horrible of you that you laughed at limp babies, you sick monster.
I didn't laugh.
Well, you implied laughter.
No, I did not.
That's basically
No,
the same.
sadly, no punchline is part of the tweet he just read.
Oh,
Yes.
Even better.
Yes. So no punchline.
Okay.
Just you, Bob. Apparently.
Yeah, you're the only one who thought that should be something to laugh at.
So to smooth the chaos out a little bit, I'm gonna
Yeah, good luck on that.
throw this out there because I get to go next. That's right. This week on the Virtual Skeptics, on my side, not the Virtual Skeptics, this me. Robot Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
barely getting on there.
There was an errant go to 10 command in there somewhere.
Yes, there was. That was clearly what it was.
I just
as much as Bob.
Tim.
Yeah, Bob, you just made like
did.
what a 20, 30-year-old computer joke.
It's
Yeah, I know.
where I stopped.
Yeah.
I
So
have no idea
that's
how you pulled that out.
as far as we
wow.
get.
Yeah. So as much as Bob wants me to talk about, how do you pronounce it? Simone Gertz? Gertz? Gertz. Who is awesome. She makes funny robot things. I'm going to talk about some other more serious pressing matters for people who are worried about robots coming to kill us. There have been some serious advancements this week, well, at least some proof of advancements this week in the AI realm with the Google DeepMind project. Now, okay, DeepMind is a company that Google acquired back in 2014. It's a UK company, and they built this AI machine called AlphaGo that plays a game called Go. And I talked about this last week, and they were just starting a run of games with the reigning world champion of Go.
That would be the man who has his head in his hand,
Yeah,
weeping, right?
This is the guy who's like, here, I'm gonna play the video because it's just really sad. I mean, some of this is this is match 5. So they played best out of 5, and at this point, he's already lost 3 games. He's won 1, and this is the last of the 5 games, and he is really stressed out. I'm not gonna play in the commentary and stuff, but so the bottom line is he lost 4-1. He's the best player in the world as human, and this intelligent machine beat him at this complicated game. Now, last week I talked about this, but this week I got a little more information about how the system works, and Bob was correct. It does use probabilities and plays a lot of games to build up the relationship to individual moves in a place in the game and how likely that move will lead to a winning game. So it's not just working out a tree of moves. It's doing some statistics based on a whole bunch of games it runs in the background. And it actually plays itself repeatedly as it runs. And by the time it's playing him, it's already played so many games with itself that it does some unconventional things. Now, in game, I think it was game 3, about move 37, which it doesn't really matter what move it was, apparently it did something that surprised the guy playing him, is Lee Sedol, who's the world champion, and the commentators, who actually some of the commentators were they're pretty accomplished Go players. A lot of the people that were watching Go is the name of the game.
Oh.
Yes, not goat. They don't play goats, Bob. But
Is this where he loses?
This is really close to the end of the game,
He just looks like he's about to kill himself.
Yeah, there's the stats right there, and yeah, he blew that last game and was really stressed out about it. But the thing is, so in the process of playing this world-class player, not only did this machine beat him, but it did some things that were unconventional for human players. There was the one move that I was talking about in game 3 surprised everybody watching that knew the game Go enough that they were just like, wow, they thought it was a mistake. They thought it was no human could have done that. It actually was a move that changed the whole direction of the game, and of course ended up in a win. And one of the commentators, who was an accomplished Go player, that it was the same guy who had played earlier and lost a round of games with AlphaGo.
The world's 74th ranked or something.
Yeah. Well, he thought it was both surprising and strange, but beautiful because it ended up in a winning move. Now, the point behind this is that I find it really interesting. Are encouraging that we're starting now to get to machines that can come up with solutions to problems that we wouldn't think of ourselves, that would get past our own expectations. Now, this guy who has been playing this game forever and beating everyone for a long period of time not only gets stumped by it, but gets surprised by its choices. And that's really cool. Also a little scary. And apparently it scared Korea. Most of the press in Korea, in response to this loss, has been a little bit alarmist about artificial intelligence. And there seems to be some kind of emotional tie between the concept of saving face and the oncoming doom of AI gonna dominate us all, I guess. But
time to get over that. Not to be culturally insensitive, but it's over.
Yeah, it does seem like we're going to have, in the coming years, machines at least finding solutions to things. I mean, they've been doing this for a while, but even more so, finding innovative solutions to things that we wouldn't think of ourselves.
Now, they were saying that this is an application and a method of testing and building up a database that could be applied to just about any antagonistic problem where you have players one against the other, where there would be a winner, instead of something like the chess game. And you mentioned this last week, that the chess game is just one set of rules that it plays and knows really well.
Yeah.
And this is more adaptable, and could be used to do stock markets and anything that can be imagined as a game.
Yeah, I didn't see it talked about for you doing stock market stuff, and then actually that's a whole other problem because we already have a lot of automation in stock trading, and it's caused problems because of the decisions that are amplified because of a lot of machines making the same decisions, and then things flopping over, and it causes the market to be a little bit unpredictable. So that's a whole nother problem, and I think that we've got years before we should really apply AI technology to that because it's dangerous. But yeah, it seems like it is definitely, it's like the Watson, the machine that won Jeopardy, and which is also even though it was full of information. It was like prepared for Jeopardy when it played Jeopardy. That machine is now being applied to doing things like diagnosing medical conditions or doing analysis of large sets of medical data. So yes, these are general purpose machines that can be applied to multiple sets of data. And to be honest, a lot of it is ideas that have been around for a long time. It's just now we finally have the horsepower we can put behind it, and the availability of the systems because of having a network communication that we can take it to the problem and solve it with a huge data store. So that's who knows where. It's just in the cloud somewhere, I guess is the buzzword. But yeah, this is an exciting time. It'd be interesting to see what kind of problems we can solve with this eventually. I'm sure it's still very, very new, but I'm sure that poor Lee is not going to be the first person disappointed because he's not as smart as the machine, which is a little scary too. So there you go. The only other thing I want to talk about this week, because I had didn't put the image up, but I had my friend Alexa on a few weeks ago, which is my Amazon Echo, which it's essentially a Siri box with a Bluetooth speaker. Amazon has its own query retrieval system, which does recognition of speech and various other things. Apparently, there was a problem this past week, and Bob actually sent me the link on this, but I had seen it because there was an NPR story about the Amazon Echo. But as a meta story, apparently, well, I listen to NPR as part of my daily flash, which if I ask, which I'm not going to say her name because she'll respond, if I ask her to give me my news flash, one of the things she'll play is the top stories on NPR, and that's like a regular thing. So I was wondering if she plays NPR and an NPR story comes on about her and it starts saying her name, if she responds to it immediately, I guess she would stop playing NPR. But if it was playing on something else, and in the story there were clips of people saying commands to her, then she would not know the difference. And she just hears her name, and if the command after it responds, and in this case there are people that reported that because there was a command for her to change the thermostat temperature, I guess in the NPR story, she was changing everybody's thermostat around the country, and that was pretty crazy. So
That's
if you have
hilarious.
one of those things, if you have an Amazon Echo, which there's a keyword that you have to say to get her to pay attention, but if you're not using it, maybe you should be in the habit of there's a mute button on it, turning it off so that things don't accidentally get recognized. Now, at least one time this happened to me, I was watching, I don't even remember what I was watching, a movie or something. It's in the same room, and she just somehow responded to something.
I don't like this movie.
Yeah, well, she just started playing music like I asked for it, and I assumed that, and I wasn't even paying attention to it. I assumed that something in the movie set her off, and if the right syllables, I guess, in line were in some of the dialogue in the movie, then she would probably listen and expect to respond. Now, Amazon's come out with. Go ahead.
Can you change her name?
Yes, you can. There are limitations to it. I have not tried. She will respond to. I think you have to configure it. I think you say Amazon Echo.
That's right.
But there's some defaults, and I think you can change it, but I don't know what the limitations are. I haven't looked at changing it. If it's easy to change, it should be something that you probably should do. Although, even if you change to something else, if those syllables are said, she's still going to pipe up. Yeah. Now, Amazon has come up with a couple of new devices in the same line. One is, I can't remember the names right now, but one is it's a little like puck-shaped device that does the same thing, except for you push a button and then talk to it. So you don't talk. It's like a portable version of it. And they also have a Bluetooth speaker. That's actually a portable Bluetooth speaker that you can push the button on it and talk to it like Siri. So that makes it almost exactly like Siri. I think the only thing that's different about this is that she's always listening, which I both like and don't like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've wondered about like the constant monitoring of technology users to glean information, and it occurred to me that I have a laptop. When I guess Windows was it 10 came out, and at the beginning of its cycle, when you start it up, it throws up a screen and asks you if you like it. Like a photograph or a landscape, and I was wondering, are they collecting data on me to see how I respond to that? And so I've decided to not respond to those anymore because I thought that feature was going to go away after a while, and it never did.
No, it's I think you can replace them, but if you just leave the automatic one, mine has been cycling through stuff, and if I tell it what I like, it actually keeps trying to give me ones I like. But so that information must be going out to a server somewhere so that they can push more images to my machine, which is a little bit disturbing. Also, I've noticed at least once it has pushed an ad. There was one time on my Windows 10 machine, the display screen was a screenshot from a video game, and it actually had text in a couple of spots saying, "You should play this game," essentially. and I was like, that's an ad. So I immediately said, I don't like this, and responded just so that I don't see ads anymore. But that was probably, I mean, I think that's what the motivation is behind being able to do that, is that they
Yeah.
want to push ads.
Oh, for a second, I thought that they
So,
just wanted to be nice and show me pretty pictures of nature that I wanted to
no.
see. But
No, I mean,
no,
Mm.
they're parsing me and splicing me, and screw them.
it's about the money. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing like the reason that search engines collect your results and try to associate those with whatever information they have about you, which is your IP address or a cookie or something like that,
Yeah.
so that they can collect information to target you with ads that work better. So it's about the money. It's not really surveillance per se, but it could be used that way. So it's still disturbing.
Can Siri change your thermostat?
Um, well, the Amazon Echo has built into it integration with these home devices you can get that will allow you to, like, there's a Wi-Fi thermostat. There are devices you can have to connect to your lamps so they can be turned on via Wi-Fi. There's a number of other devices, and it has this stuff built in. So if I bought one and put it on here, it'd be real easy for me to just tell Amazon to turn the light on and off, or change the thermostat if it's a Wi-Fi thermostat. If I don't have those devices, it can't access anything I don't give it access to.
Right.
I don't know if Siri does that, but I know that Siri can access like if then then that, which is an app that allows you to
Right.
create rules and various other things. So you could set up your own rules for that, because I know if then that will support pretty much anything that's home automation. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, the technology is getting pretty standard now, which means that it's interoperable, which means there's tons of stuff everywhere, and there are security concerns because everything that's on the internet is on the internet.
I wish we had an internet security expert to talk about that.
I know, God.
He's not here.
No, I
So
missed
sad.
him.
Yeah.
He's so tall.
I was just going to say that.
So tall. Okay. Any other
Miss Blue,
questions?
too.
True.
I miss Blue too. Blue is awesome. Blue is the official official webcast dog
Mascot thing.
thing, because the cats don't show up enough. That's all. I'm just going to designate it right now.
Yeah.
Fine. It's out there now.
Yes.
Finally said it.
Yes. Let's see. Got some guesses for trivia questions and stuff online, but no questions about the technology stuff. Thank you. Anyway, I'm going to switch over to our remaining speaker of the night.
Who's
Like I said,
that?
she's the funniest person on here, Eve.
So unamusing now. Well, earlier I actually tweeted my own trivia question, which is not an official trivia question because it's not, anything particularly skeptical. But what do coffee, Ben Franklin, and Shakespeare have in common?
They're all English words.
Okay. No.
They're all in the question that you tweeted.
Yes. And no. The answer is the Folger family. Henry Folger's Shakespeare collection became the Folger Shakespeare Library. Folger Coffee is named for his uncle, who went out to San Francisco for the gold rush and ended up making money in coffee instead. And Ben Franklin's mother was a Folger, and it is part of the same family. A distant relative, but still the same family. So there you go. Right. So, with that in mind, a month ago, during book time, I read a passage from a book called The Millionaire and the Bard, Henry Folger's Obsessive Hunt for Shakespeare's First Folio by Andrea Maines. Yep. I'd gotten it on a trip to Washington at, you think I'm going to say Folger Shakespeare Library, but no, it actually was the Library of Congress gift shop. And I want to retract that book time reading, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, Henry, because I've started to read the book, and oh dear.
Yeah.
Henry Clay Folger, an executive with Standard Oil, amassed a huge collection of works related to Shakespeare, including 82 copies of the Shakespeare First Folio. If you could bring up the first slide, we have a picture of the Folger's First Folios. It's a lot of First Folios.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not entirely sure if all 82 came from Henry Folger or if some of them were added to the collection later, but I think they were all his. Approximately 750 copies were printed in total. 233 copies are known to be extant, so Folger owned roughly 42% of the surviving Shakespeare First Folios, which is
unfair.
A lot. Yeah. Like the British Library has a piddling 5 or something. Folger's collection formed the basis of the Folger Shakespeare Library. If you could bring up the next slide, a picture of the Folger
pretty.
Shakespeare Library. Yeah, it's quite spectacular. The Shakespeare Library opened in 1932, 2 years after Folger's death, and it's an amazing resource. But for years, Folger hoarded his precious in a warehouse and did his damnedest to make sure that no library or other institution got their filthy public hands on any document he was interested in. And I thought the story of Folger's obsession to possess all the Shakespeare things would be an interesting one, and I'm sure it is, but this is sadly a deeply flawed book. The first thing to give me pause was the author's bio, which I shall now read. Andrea Mays, like Henry Folger, has been possessed by a lifelong obsession with Shakespeare and his times. Andrea spent much of her Manhattan girlhood holed up in the New York Public Library listening to vinyl LP recordings of performances by the Royal Shakespeare Company. A graduate of Stuyvesant High School, she was not only a protege of Frank McCourt, but also his own mentor, the legendary New York City public school teacher, Rolene Dahlberg. Andrea has degrees. Now, you imagine she's gone on to quite an impressive literary career after all that. Andrea has degrees in economics from the State University of New York at Binghamton.
Just say SUNY.
And from UCLA, and teaches economics at California State University at Long Beach. She was a presidential appointee to the U.S. International Trade Commission, where she served as an economist to the chairman. She divides her time between California and Washington, D.C. This is her first book. Okay. Now, fine, the book is primarily about a businessman. So I suppose an economist, economicist, I almost said, an economist could add insight into the financial wheelings and dealings that went into amassing this incredible collection. However, the early chapters of the book deal with Shakespeare, his work, his time period, and the printing of the first folio and the successive folios. Now, for those chapters, her master's degree in economics is slightly less pertinent. So where to start? She includes a bibliography. That's good. She includes endnotes. That's good. But not nearly enough endnotes. Many assertions are not backed up with evidence or citations. Some assertions are questionable. Some opinions and interpretations are stated as fact. And some facts are wrong. So, just a few examples. Of Shakespeare's arrival in London, she says, "The undistinguished and unknown young Shakespeare landed in London without prospects. He did not carry in his satchel a stack of manuscripts of finished plays ready for the stage." Now, that may be true, but how does she know? How can anyone know if he tried his hand at writing plays before he stepped foot in London? I mean, granted, if he did, I'm sure they weren't stage ready. But the idea is that he had nothing with him of literary merit. But the real problem with this statement is that she overemphasizes in this whole passage Shakespeare's outsider status and wonders how he could possibly have broken into the tight-knit ranks of the university-educated playwrights. She says, how exactly an outsider without proper university credentials or an established literary reputation was able to penetrate the tight-knit circle of wits, poets, and actors who orbited the London theaters remains unknown. Now, this sort of marveling about how he could possibly have done something without a university education or without an inn is very similar to the kind of argument from incredulity or ignorance used to deny Shakespeare authorship of his works. And that's kind of ironic because she actually spends quite some time arguing that Shakespeare absolutely wrote Shakespeare. She even is not very up on the collaborations that he did engage in. But she also mindlessly echoes some of the anti-Shakespeare talking points. There were other playwrights who were not university educated at the time that Shakespeare began his career. The university wits didn't control who was allowed to write. They certainly didn't control the acting companies. They basically worked for the acting companies. So we don't know what happened exactly. We don't know when or how Shakespeare began his career as an actor and a writer. But we don't have to invent extraordinary happenings or extraordinary hindrances to explain this.
Well, there's that, but you know what really strikes me about that passage is the way she's trying to write in a novelistic style.
Yeah.
And thereby kind of extrapolating to, you know, things like his prospects and what he had, and you know,
I
like
was imagining it, you know, in Singing in the Rain, the part, the sort of set piece
I don't know where this is going.
Where Gene Kelly is, you know, arrives in town with just his hopes and his bag.
Gotta dance!
Yeah. That's how I imagine Shakespeare from this passage.
Well, you know, the first draft of the book was originally a play.
Yeah.
So wait, when does Shakespeare dance with Sid Charisse?
Well, with Kit Marlowe, and we just don't want to go into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after all this, the outsider thing, she then says that soon after arriving in London, Shakespeare wrote his first play, Titus Andronicus. Now, Titus is certainly an early play, but we don't know if it was Shakespeare's first play or not. There are other early ones as well. She seems to accept that it's entirely Shakespeare's work, whereas now it is generally agreed that several of his early works were in some type of collaboration, as several of his later works were. In this case, Titus is often thought to have been a collaboration with George Peele, who was one of the university wits. But in fact, the only collaborations she seems to acknowledge are Pericles, Two Noble Kinsmen, and Cardenio, which are amongst his least well-known plays, including one that does not actually exist anymore in anything like the form it was written in. She says that the apparently lost play Love's Labourers 1 may actually have been the original title of Love's Labourers Lost, but in fact both early references to Love's Labourers 1 also mention Love's Labourers Lost.
Yeah. Well,
So you know, people have suggested it might have been an alternate name of it, or another work, or he might have reworked it, revised it, and it got renamed. But probably not Love's Labourers Lost, since again they're both listed together in two different lists. She accepts as fact the notion that Shakespeare played the role of the ghost of Hamlet's father in Hamlet, despite the fact that it's a very late attribution, dubious attribution that's probably apocryphal. We don't know. We know some of the plays he appeared in, like a couple of Johnson's plays, but we don't know definitely any role he specifically played. So that, again, is stating something apocryphal as if it were fact. She seems to think that all the quarto... Yes?
She knows the publishing business, though, right? Because
No.
Economist... Oh.
Yeah. Well, we're getting to that one. She seems to think that all the quarto editions of Shakespeare's plays published in his lifetime were pirated copies. And they weren't. Some of them were, some of them were not. Some were legitimate publications approved of by the acting company, which owned the plays. And this is a huge misconception, and I'll probably write about that and some of the other things more elsewhere. But just, let's say, what she says is wrong, confusing, contradictory, and wrong. Also wrong. Then she says that Sir Philip Sidney introduced the Italian sonnet into England. Sidney was the first to write an English sonnet sequence, but Sir Thomas Wyatt the Elder and Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey, were the first to translate some of Petrarch's sonnets. Surrey was the first to use what's now called the English or Shakespearean sonnet form, and the first to use blank verse in English. She also has an over-rigid and somewhat anachronistic concept of what a sonnet is. Oh, crap. Hang on. Sorry, my notes just went nuts. I got it back together now. What were you saying, Bob?
So you're saying that she should have maybe written a book about economics?
Oh, well, I wouldn't go that far. But before we get to that, she talks a lot about the large number of illiterate people in Shakespeare's day, but her numbers are questionable and not supported by evidence or a source or anything. She doesn't seem to realize that some people who couldn't write could read, which makes judging the numbers difficult. She either doesn't know or doesn't care that the literacy rate had actually increased significantly by Shakespeare's time with the rise of the printing press, which is a device that's fairly crucial to her story because, first folio. When discussing the fact that spelling was not standardized in Shakespeare's day, she says, in a time where few people could write, orthography was not uniform. And that's not just a non sequitur, it's a non sequitur. Squirrel!
I'm sorry, what? Totally distracted.
Yeah.
So
it's as if the reason that spelling wasn't standardized was because the people were too illiterate to know how to spell. But you can't spell wrong unless there is a standard.
Yeah. And you know what? I see that a lot. When people are critiquing like Shakespeare at about the Shakespeare denier level, they say, like, why are there 3 different spellings of his name?
Yeah.
Okay, because you really don't understand the conventions of the time, and you need to read a book.
Yeah. Now, as Bob was saying, surely when she moves from the literary stuff into economics, surely she does better. When she moves from Shakespeare to Folger and his career at Standard Oil, her expertise in economics should become pertinent and useful. And perhaps it does, but honestly, I just find myself thinking, wow, you are so voting for Trump, aren't you?
Bringing it back around.
I didn't mention Trump. You mentioned him.
Yeah.
You remember that.
You mentioned the presidential race. There are significant chunks. It's very ideological, it seems to be. Very ideological. There are significant chunks of the text in the book where the subject seems to be not Henry Folger and the first folio, but how much antitrust laws suck and how great monopolies are.
It's, I don't know what book she thought she was writing.
Now, this is obviously out of my area of expertise, and I fully admit I may have biases based on ignorance. But again, she's stating opinion and interpretation as fact. And I'm sorry, but I'm just a bit skeptical of her hagiography of St. John D. Rockefeller. So her pro-capitalist rich guy slant also pervades her portrayal of Henry Folger's single-minded quest. She seems to see him in an almost invariably favorable light, but what she describes sometimes sounds to me like a sneaky, aggressive, underhanded asshole. So, in short, it's a bad book. Don't buy it.
Thanks
It will
for
make you wronger.
that book recommendation or anti-recommendation.
Save yourselves. Run away. What a disappointment, because it really could have been a really interesting book.
Yeah.
If it was written by somebody with the background.
Well, there are bits of it that are interesting, but I find myself, it's like, I'm going to have to look up everything she says, because after the first few chapters, where she makes some rudimentary mistakes, I don't trust anything she says.
All I want to know is, are there goats?
I have not come across any goats so far.
No?
Well, I don't know. There probably are things in the Folger collection that are on goat skin. Like parchment.
Well, so
but
there you go. It all does come back around. Thank you, Eve, for that wonderful warning about a book not to buy, I think.
Boy, that sentence came out in jumps and starts, didn't it?
I was not sure what thing to... Hey.
But with the words in the head broken.
Yes. So, wow, we managed to fill all the time with some interesting stuff. Let's do the wrap-up. Did anybody get the trivia question? Actually, I think people got it kind of early. Let's see. While we were still talking, who got it? Somebody got it while we were still talking.
Alex Murdoch was the first I saw, followed very shortly after by Skep Review, parentheses, Howard.
Let's see. The question again was, what famous quack cancer cure is also known as B17 is made from apricot pills?
Pits.
Apricot pits, not beer. The answer was Laetril. First answer, I think we're going to give it to Alex Murdoch because he was at 53 minutes. Or I was there, it's 53 minutes ago, but he was the earliest. I think there was one response over on, Pierre Cloutier also responded on YouTube, but I think that Alex was first. Congratulations, Alex. There were a couple of guesses on the videos behind me. Alex also, I think he guessed left screen. He guessed the left screen, and it is the trailer for the movie AI, which is about a robot boy who finds his mommy. Really long movie, kind of sad if you're a parent, because there's like one scene where this woman abandons her supposed child, and it's kind of sad.
Spoilers.
But it's I liked it. I like to cry sometimes, so it made me cry, and it was I thought it was a decent movie. Not some brilliant performances, but hey. Nobody seemed to guess what the other one was, but there was a theme. The other one was Ex Machina, which is a movie that just came out last year, which is also about an AI robot person who goes amok. And this one just wants to get away from the perverts that are fucking them. And yes, I said that out loud. So, two good AI movies. I know. This is the internet. We can say whatever the hell.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And if your kids are still watching this, geez, man, send them a bit.
What's wrong with you?
I know. So there you go. I'm going to give partial credit to Alex. Thank you for guessing, because nobody usually guesses. Announcements this week. There's a new episode of Skepticality, and Eve's got a segment on it. You want to talk about it, Eve?
Yes, I talked about there was some delay with skepticality with this episode, so it's actually something I talked about on Virtual Skeptics a little while ago, which is the upcoming opening of Ark Encounter in Kentucky, and oh dear, Ken Ham.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he's a disaster, isn't he?
Didn't he? He came out against
Evil.
Oh, against Cosmos.
No, I'm sure he did.
Wasn't like today or was yesterday? He was ranting about the show Cosmos being shown in public schools because it teaches atheism.
I thought he did that
like
when it was actually still running.
Yeah,
during the original run, a number of people did.
I think it's come back around because they've been showing them in like public school.
Yeah, I mean, all I could think of was when the show was on is that is the actual audience, because it was so broken up by commercials that it was made to be shown in high school classes. But I was bothered actually by the amount of atheism that was in there,
and by the bad history.
And the history was not great either. It felt more ideological to me than Sagan's.
So there is some good something to a critique of the show, at least.
Yeah, but not
his
anything that
critique.
Ken Ham says, because moron.
I don't think he's even watched the thing. I think he's just like, you guy with the space stuff, I hate you. That's all.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my.
With your evolutions.
Get off my dinosaur caveman boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing we do is oh
my God, that's an accurate thing that you'd have to get off of his.
Yeah.
I know. Get off my dinosaur caveman boat. Yes, which is going to be what I call it from now on. How's your dinosaur caveman boat, dude? Who's going first?
You can pick. You're in the driver's seat.
I'm gonna go ahead and do mine because mine's small. Light-colored roofs aren't a good complement to splattered blood. Long brown lines and streaks marked up the gruff gray paint, creating a Jackson Pollock canvas of death and dirt. Bob, do yours.
I'm looking for a good one. Let me see.
Oh, go ahead, Eve.
Thank you.
Professor Smithers, interpreting the host name Bertolac de Haut-Désert as meaning of the High Hermitage, and assuming that it refers to the Green Chapel, attributes much in the conception of the chapel to the direct influence of an episode in the prose Quête del Saint Graal, which he believes suggested the confessional element in the poem, while the general influence of the Vulgate romances resulted in marked emphasis on the spiritual rather than the secular aspects of Gawain's chivalry.
You got something now?
Yes. Number 49, Animal Therapy Company, Anamaza Inclusive, 1907 to 1983. 4 folders, call number 00531/0053-17. Correspondence, clippings, journals, and articles concerning Animal Therapy Company, marketers of a kidney disease cure derived from the lymph glands of goats. From 1907 to 1944.
Okay. So my book, because I have no response to that. I finished reading Scott Sigler's Alive, which is the new book, which the second book in the series is coming out very shortly. But I went back and I read a few of his books I haven't read yet. So I went back and read Nocturnal, which is actually I think it's at least 3 or 4 years old. I don't know. It's an older book, but it's still got his style of kind of snarky description and stuff. So I really like it a lot. It's a horror book, and I don't know if it's young adult. Like a lot of his stuff is young adult stuff, but this one is pretty gory in spots. but I'm enjoying it. What was your book, Eve?
Well, it's an article in a book, so it's W.R.J. Barron, French Romance and the Structure of Sir Gawain the Green Knight, which is within Studies of Medieval Literature and Languages in Memory of Frederick Whitehead. But what's exciting about this book is that I just got it over the weekend at a used bookstore in Boston, and when I opened it up, it was previously owned by someone I cited in my dissertation.
Wow!
It was pretty
amazing.
cool.
You'd think that these academic realms weren't just such a small world, but they are.
No, this is a pretty small world here. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to be facetious. What's your book, Bob?
My book is The Guide to the American Medical Association's Historical Health, Fraud, and Alternative Medicine Collection, which is published by the AMA, Physicians Dedicated to the Health of America. This is actually an ebook that I printed up at school, and
Which edition is it? Does this come out in multiple editions, or?
No, it's actually just a enormous PDF file.
But does it get updated on a regular basis, is what I'm asking.
No, I think that this is a historical archive that runs up to about the 70s or 80s.
Okay.
I could offer them a couple of things about a certain guy I know, but yeah, and then they bound it for me at school, which was really nice of them.
It's a good 2.5 inches thick.
It's a huge collection. It sounds like it's so big they have to store it off-site, and they charge you money to get the boxes. Oh, I'm going there over the summer to do some research. So
wow.
Yeah.
So that's just the index.
Yeah, this is the finding guide. It's a scope and contents.
Oh my God.
Well, it has a massive index too of all the names and all the topics and a list of the contents. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here that's redundant, but the descriptions themselves are pretty short little paragraphs. But they were doing it for a century.
I have to say that I'm impressed that it only took you a couple minutes to find something related to goats.
I know. I was very pleased. I saw that and I thought, oh, that's the one I'm reading.
So there you go. Okie dokie.
I had an announcement. Sorry.
You have an announcement? I did announcements already.
Yeah,
but you can do yours now.
Yes, I'm going to be speaking at the Philadelphia Association of Critical Thinking on the 19th at 2 o'clock. My talk will be entitled "When I Discovered the Woman in Me." No, it's about Brzezinski. Go figure.
Which is the same title, ironically.
Yeah, I know.
But okay. Is Shakespeare the best part of waking up? Which was Blake's comment when you did your story, which I thought was funny, so I had to mention that one. Other than that, I think we're done. Are we done?
I believe
so.
Yeah.
Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you everybody for watching
and
participating.
Barb.
I know. I miss Tim. And Barbara. Barbara, I miss her. But see, I expected her to be gone. I didn't expect Tim to gone. So I feel this.
It's like an amputation.
Yeah. So okay. So
like
I'm
someone took
the
a
sad
kidney or
music
something.
on. This is the sad music. Virtual Skeptics. Is an Hamilton production of What's the Harm.net, Synchromatic myself, ICBS Everywhere, and Doubtful News. The logo is designed by Sarah Hewitt, SarahMcGee.com, and our theme music is by Music and used with permission.
It's the goat show.